There is a truth most people do not want to hear. No one is coming to save you. No apology will ever be enough to heal the wounds you carry inside. No perfect opportunity will show up at the right time to change your life. If you keep waiting, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. The world does not operate according to your needs, and it will not change for you. But you have a huge advantage. You do not need the entire world to change. You only need to change yourself. With just one decision, right in this moment, you can step out of who you used to be and start building a new reality. The question is, do you dare to do it? Do you know what keeps people stuck the longest? It is not failure, and it is not a lack of opportunity. It is the habit of living in lack and waiting. We wait for the day we have enough money to feel confident, wait for the perfect relationship to feel complete, wait for a miracle to erase the pain. But waiting is a dangerous loop. The longer we wait, the more we reinforce the feeling of lack, and the further we drift from what we want. I have seen far too many people live their entire lives this way. They believe that when the new car arrives, when the dream house becomes reality, or when the right person walks into their life, they will finally be happy. And when they achieve those things, the joy lasts only for a moment before returning to the same emptiness as before, because they do not realize this. The feeling of wholeness does not come after you get something. It has to come first. When you constantly think about what you do not have, your mind broadcasts one signal only, lack. And lack only attracts more lack. If you truly want to change, you must learn to live and feel as if what you desire is already your reality. This is not wishful thinking. It is the foundation of all creation. Neuroscience has shown that when you visualize a future in vivid detail and feel the emotions of it right now, your brain responds as if it is already happening. Your body begins producing chemicals, activating genes, and preparing your entire nervous system to match the new version of you. This is why real change does not begin with action. It begins with your inner state. When I understood this, I started experimenting on myself. Every morning, before the world had a chance to pull me back into my old habits, I took time to imagine myself living in the future I wanted, healthy, free, wealthy, at peace. I did not just see it in my mind. I felt it in my heart. I practiced until that feeling became more familiar than fear or doubt. At first, it was very hard. My mind kept pulling me back to the same old thoughts. You are not good enough. You are wasting your time. This will never happen. But I realized that every time I caught myself returning to that old way of thinking and brought myself back to the feeling of the future, I was slowly reprogramming myself. And then one day, without any warning, I realized I was no longer chasing that future. I was living in it. I did not need proof from the outside world to know I was changing. The confidence, peace, and gratitude overflowing inside me were the clearest signs. From that moment, everything around me began to rearrange itself in ways I could not explain with ordinary logic. Opportunities came, people showed up, coincidences became normal. But here is the key. If you are still the old you, you will continue to get the old reality. To change your reality, you must change yourself first, and no one can do that for you. In the next part, I will show you why 95% of people cannot change even though they desperately want to, and how to break the automatic mechanism that controls your life every single day. If you understand this process, you will not just change one aspect of your life. Your entire life will shift in the direction you want. But if you ignore it, you will continue to live in the loop of yesterday, and 5 years from now, everything will still look exactly the same as today. When I began my journey of change, I realized a hard truth. Most of the time, we are not living consciously. Scientific research shows that about 95% of what you think, feel, and do in a day is an automatic response programmed by your past. You wake up and think the same old thoughts. You feel the same old emotions. You repeat the same old behaviors, and you call that me. But in reality, that is just a version shaped by memories, environment, and the stories you once believed were true. Imagine your brain is a radio transmitter, constantly broadcasting on the same frequency. That frequency is a mix of beliefs, memories, fears, and habits. Each day, you play the same old song, and the world responds with situations, people, and opportunities that match that song. If you keep broadcasting the frequency of fear, you will encounter situations that make you afraid. If you keep broadcasting the frequency of lack, you will attract more lack. This is not vague philosophy. This is how our nervous system and body operate. The problem is when 95% of who you are is running on old programming, the remaining 5%, your conscious mind, has to fight a giant opponent. That is why you can promise yourself, tomorrow I will change. But when tomorrow comes, you end up doing exactly what you did yesterday. Real change cannot rely on willpower alone. Willpower is like rowing a small boat upstream against a raging current. You can push hard for a while, but if you do not change the direction of the river, your subconscious programming, you will exhaust yourself and drift back to where you started. The only way to break this loop is to become aware of yourself. You have to catch the moment you are about to react in your old, habitual way and pause, not to suppress, but to choose. Between stimulus and response, there is always a golden pause. In that pause, you have the power to decide who you will be. At first, you will miss it many times. You will realize you have already reacted before you remember you should have paused. But that is still progress. Because if today you notice it late, tomorrow you will notice it earlier, and gradually you will begin to master that moment. This is when you start rewriting your program. Every time you respond differently, your brain records a new path. Repeat it enough times, and it becomes the main road. And once that new road is built, that 95% automatic part becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Remember, change is not about creating a brand new person out of nothing. Change is about removing the layers of habits, reactions, and old beliefs to reveal the best version of you that has always been there. And here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. If tomorrow you woke up completely free from your old programming, what kind of person would you be? Share your thoughts, and do not forget to like and subscribe to continue this journey with me. In the next part, I will show you the formula I used to change more in 30 days than I had in the previous 5 years combined. You will learn how to combine clear intention with elevated emotion to pull your future closer than ever before. But if you skip it, you will continue letting your 95% subconscious decide 100% of your life, and nothing will ever change. Most major mistakes in life do not begin with a bad plan, but with a reaction made too quickly. A careless word in anger, a rushed decision made in fear, a message sent before the mind has cooled down, all come from ignoring something valuable, the golden pause. The golden pause is the brief moment that exists between stimulus and response. It is not long, just a few seconds, sometimes just one breath, but its power is enough to change the outcome of an entire situation, even the course of a relationship. In that pause, you have the power to choose how you will respond to the world. You are not a victim of an instant emotion. You are the one who decides where that emotion will take you. The problem is, most of us do not see this pause. We let instinct lead the way, and instinct always chooses the quickest path to release the emotion, regardless of the consequences. That is why you may regret your action immediately after, yet you cannot take it back. Mastering the golden pause is not about suppressing your emotions. Suppression only pushes emotions deeper, causing them to explode more strongly at another time. Mastering the golden pause is about recognizing the emotion, rising, allowing it to exist, and choosing a response based on your values and long-term goals, not on the impulse of the moment. Imagine you are standing in front of someone who has just said something offensive to you. The instinctive reaction is to respond immediately, take the upper hand, and prove you are right. But if you pause, take a deep breath, keep your gaze steady, and let a few seconds pass, you will realize you have more choices than just attacking. You can ask for clarification, you can choose silence, or you can walk away. And in those choices, you take back your power. JeffersonFisher once said, "Silence is not weakness. Silence is when you are rewriting the ending of the story. The golden pause is the tool that allows you to do exactly that. When you practice it regularly, your body and brain learn to slow down your reactions. Studies show that just 6 seconds between emotion and action is enough for the rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, to regain control from the limbic system where instinctive reactions are triggered. Those 6 seconds can mean the difference between destroying a relationship and strengthening it, between losing an opportunity and turning it into a breakthrough, between continuing to live as your old self and stepping into your new self. The golden pause not only saves you from poor decisions, it also creates a new image of you in the eyes of others, someone calm, confident, and not easily swayed. Over time, that image will shape the way the world treats you. The truth is, you cannot control everything others do or say, but you can control how you respond. And sometimes, the greatest power you have is the power not to react immediately. There is something most people do not realize. The past does not only exist in your memory, it exists in your body. Every time you recall a painful moment, your body instantly recreates the entire biological reaction of that moment. Your heart rate increases, your breath quickens, your muscles tighten, stress hormones flood your system. The brain does not distinguish between what is happening now and what you imagine. And so every time you relive it in your mind, you are living the past as if it just happened. The more you repeat it, the more your body becomes familiar with that emotional state until it becomes your home. This is why many people cannot step out of anger, hurt, or shame, not because they do not want to, but because their body has become addicted to that emotion. Once an emotion has sunk deep enough, it becomes part of your identity. You are no longer someone who simply feels betrayed. You become the betrayed person. You are no longer someone who simply experienced failure. You become a failure. And when that happens, every choice and action you make is filtered through the lens of that old emotion, pulling you back into the familiar loop. To truly change, you must break this identification. You must recognize how many years you have spent reenacting the same old story and how much it has cost you in lost opportunities and stolen joy. Breaking the emotional loop of the past does not mean pretending it never happened or denying your feelings. It means looking the past in the eye, accepting that it is over, and refusing to let it define you for one more day. This requires emotional discipline. Every time an old memory surfaces and your body begins to trigger the familiar reaction, you must pause and choose a new response. That could mean changing your posture, taking a deep breath, or focusing on a completely different image, a future you want to move toward. Every time you do this, you are teaching your body a new emotional language. At first, your body will resist. It will try to pull you back into the comfort zone of familiar pain. But if you remain consistent, over time, the old reaction will weaken and a new version of you will emerge. Imagine being an actor who has been performing the same scene for decades. The script never changes, the emotions never change, and the ending never changes. Breaking the loop is deciding to walk off the stage, throw away the old script, and write a new story. A story in which the past is only a chapter, not the entire book. When you stop replaying the old emotions, you free the energy that has been trapped. That energy becomes the fuel to build your future. And one day, you will look back and be amazed to realize you have gone so far that you cannot even remember the last time you lived as your old self. Change does not happen just because you want it. Wanting is not a strategy. Wanting is only the starting point. For real change, you need a formula. And that formula has only 2 components, but its power is enough to transform your entire life. Clear intention and elevated emotion. Clear intention means knowing exactly what you are moving toward, not a vague desire like, I want to be happy or I want to be successful, but a detailed image down to the smallest specifics. Where do you want to live? What does your work look like? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? How does your new self dress, speak, and behave? When your intention is clear, your mind becomes like a lens brought into sharp focus. It no longer wastes energy on vague aims, but channels everything toward what you have chosen. But intention alone is not enough. If you only set goals with logic, your old emotions will soon pull you back. This is where elevated emotion comes in. Elevated emotions are powerful, positive, high-frequency states. Joy, gratitude, love, freedom, excitement. When you combine clear intention with elevated emotion, you are not just thinking about the future, you are living in it. Your brain and body begin to respond as if what you desire is already reality. This is the difference between someone who is always chasing their goals and someone who draws those goals toward themselves. The first waits for proof before believing. The second believes first in order to create proof. Neuroscience shows that when you imagine an experience with enough emotional intensity, the brain creates the same neural networks as when you actually live that experience. In other words, you are training your brain and body to get used to the new version of you before it appears. This breaks the emotional habits of the past and opens a new pathway to the future. This practice is not about daydreaming idly. It requires focus and discipline. Each day, you set aside time to detach from the outside world, turn off your phone, avoid distractions, and connect with the image of your future. You see it, feel it, and believe in it so deeply that when you get up, you carry that energy into every action you take that day. And here is the secret. The world reflects the energy you project. When you act from a state of confidence, gratitude, and excitement, you attract opportunities, people, and situations that match that frequency. The more you do this, the more strange coincidences begin to appear. But in truth, these are not coincidences. They are the result of aligning your inner and outer worlds. When clear intention meets elevated emotion, you are no longer the one waiting for the future. You become the cause that creates it. And that is the starting point of every lasting change. Clear intention and elevated emotion can change your direction, but it is persistence that will take you to the destination. The problem is that most people quit too soon. They start with burning enthusiasm, but when they do not see immediate results, they assume the method does not work, or worse, they believe they are not capable of change. The truth is, change is not like flipping a light switch. It is like planting a seed. You cannot plant a seed today, water it once, and expect fruit tomorrow. You have to water it every day, even when nothing has yet broken through the soil. Persistence is acting when you see no results because you trust that results are forming beneath the surface. I have seen many people fail not because they were on the wrong path, but because they stopped before change had the chance to take root. Deep inner transformation takes time for the brain to build new neural connections, for the body to adapt to new emotional states. You cannot force time to shorten, but you can ensure that each passing day moves you forward, even if only by one small step. Persistence is not about doing a lot in one day. It is about doing the right thing every day, repeating it long enough for it to become second nature. That could mean spending a few minutes each morning connecting with your intention. It could mean pausing and choosing a new response whenever you notice an old one rising. It could mean asking yourself each evening, did I act like my new self today? Do not measure the value of a day only by visible results, but by whether you stayed loyal to the process. Because the process is where change actually happens. And when you persist long enough, there will be a day when everything breaks through. Like water boiling at 100 degrees, you can heat it to 99 degrees for hours without seeing anything happen. But with just one more degree, the entire state changes. That is the breakthrough moment, and it only comes to those who persist long enough to reach it. The danger is you never know whether you are at 60 degrees or 99 degrees. So if you stop, you will never know how close you really were. Persistence is also the test of faith. It is easy to believe in yourself when everything is going well. But believing in yourself when everything is quiet, when you are repeating good actions with no audience, when results have yet to appear, that is when you truly build inner strength. Because real change not only turns you into a new person, it gives you a quality no one can take away. The ability to stand firm and keep moving forward no matter the circumstances. And when persistence becomes part of who you are, every goal, no matter how big, becomes only a matter of time. When it comes to forgiveness, many people immediately think of it as a noble act, a concession made to the person who hurt them. But in reality, forgiveness does not start with something you do for them. It starts with something you do for yourself. Holding on to anger, bitterness, or the feeling of betrayal is like carrying a backpack full of rocks. At first, you may think you are strong enough to bear it, but over time, that weight does not just tire your shoulders. It wears down your strength, your spirit, and robs you of joy. Every day you carry that burden is another day you waste precious energy on something that cannot be changed. Forgiveness does not mean agreeing with what they did or believing it was right. Forgiveness is how you cut the cord that ties you to the past. As long as you hold tightly to anger, the person who hurt you continues to live in your mind, controlling your emotions and actions, even if they are no longer anywhere near you. In my work as a lawyer, I have seen cases where a single past event shaped the entire course of someone's life, not because the event lasted, but because the emotion attached to it was never released. Forgiveness is the only way to end this loop. It is like closing a rotted door to open a new space where light can pour in. But forgiveness is a skill, not a single burst of emotion. It requires repeated choice. For some wounds, you may have to forgive the same incident many times, because each time the memory resurfaces, you must remind yourself to let go again. At first, this can feel fake. You may think, I am lying to myself. But the truth is, each time you choose to release a little more, the cord weakens a little more. And then one day, you will realize you have been walking without feeling the weight behind you. Forgiveness is also an energy management strategy. The energy you spend sustaining anger is energy you cannot use to create, to love, to build. Releasing that energy means giving yourself more resources to move forward. Remember, forgiveness does not depend on an apology. Some people will never apologize to you. Some will never admit they were wrong. Forgiveness does not require their cooperation. It is your decision, and only you have the right to make it. When you forgive, you do not change the past, but you change your future. You take back control from the hands of another and return it to yourself. And that is a form of freedom no other power can give you. There is a state where if you reach it, every decision becomes clearer, every word carries more weight, and every action holds an unexplainable magnetism. This state does not come from thinking harder or working longer. It comes when your heart and mind are in sync. The mind is the place of logic, analysis, and planning. The heart is the center of emotion, intuition, and human connection. The problem is that most of us live in a state of conflict between these two. When the mind wants to move forward, but the heart is still bound by fear or hurt, you will sabotage yourself. On the other hand, when the heart urges you to act, but the mind lacks a clear plan, you are more likely to make impulsive decisions and pay the price. Being in sync does not mean the two always agree instantly. It means you know how to create a space for them to have a dialogue and find common ground. Scientific research shows that the heart has its own nervous system, capable of sending signals to the brain and directly influencing how you think, feel, and make decisions. When the heartbeat is stable and harmonious, the brain works more efficiently, and creativity and problem-solving abilities increase significantly. This is why people who remain calm and focused often make wiser decisions under pressure. When the heart and mind are in sync, you are not just reacting to life, you are creating your own rhythm. You walk into a room carrying a presence that draws attention without speaking a word. You resolve conflicts without alienating anyone because your words come from both reason and compassion. So how do you reach this state? Start by regulating your heartbeat through breathing and emotional awareness. Whenever you feel pulled into stress, pause and take deep, slow, steady breaths while focusing on a positive emotion such as gratitude or love. This emotion does not need to relate to your current situation. Simply recall a moment when you truly felt warmth and peace and let it spread throughout your body. When you do this, the heart sends new signals to the brain, shifting your nervous system from fight or flight mode into restore and create mode. As a result, your mind becomes clearer, your perspective wider, and you can choose to act from a place of intention rather than instinct. Syncing the heart and mind is not a skill you learn once and master forever. It is a daily practice, like building muscle. The more you train, the easier it becomes to find your balance even in chaos. And when this state becomes a habit, you will notice that you not only live better, you live deeper. You appreciate more fully the beauty of small moments while having the strength to face big challenges. In a world full of noise and pressure, the alignment of heart and mind is a rare competitive advantage. It not only helps you succeed, but ensures that when you succeed, you still keep your inner peace. There comes a point in the journey of change when you realize you have crossed an invisible line. You are no longer the person you once were. It is not the moment you buy your dream house or reach the number in your bank account you once imagined. It happens more quietly, more profoundly. One morning you wake up and notice that the familiar heaviness is gone. A situation that once triggered instant anger can no longer disturb the peace inside you. A judgment that used to haunt you for weeks now passes by like a breeze. This is when you understand that true change is not about what you have achieved, but about who you have become. The problem is, many people begin the journey while still carrying the map of their old self. They want a new life, but continue to maintain old habits, old thoughts, and old emotions. They try to reach a different destination, but are still driving the same car on the same road in the same direction. That cannot take you anywhere except where you have already been. To change your reality, you must change your identity. This means not only learning new skills or moving to a new environment, but changing the way you see yourself. Your old self may have been skilled at surviving, but your new self must know how to create. Your old self may have reacted to defend, but your new self reacts to build. Your old self was driven by fear, your new self is led by vision. The hard truth is, to become the new you, you must be willing to let the old you die. That means letting go of the stories you used to cling to as explanations for why you could not change. It means no longer blaming circumstances, no longer holding on to the role of victim, because while that role may give you sympathy, it also chains you to the past. When you firmly step out of your old identity, the world will initially react. People who are used to the old version of you may feel uncomfortable seeing you change. They may try to pull you back into the old comfort zone. But if you stay steadfast, relationships, environments, and opportunities that align with your new self will begin to appear. It is a natural law. The frequency you emit is the frequency you attract. And when your inner change becomes stable, you no longer have to try to be the new you, you simply are. At that point, what once required discipline becomes instinct. What once felt like effort becomes joy. And from that moment on, no one can take you back to being your old self unless you allow it. There are two ways to live. One is to let the outside world decide how you feel. The other is to let your inner world shape how you experience everything. Most people choose the first without even realizing it. They are happy when they receive praise, sad when they are criticized. They feel excited when things go well, and confused when things become messy. Their emotions are like a small boat on the sea, swept in whatever direction the wind blows. Living this way means giving full control of your life to circumstances. The problem is, circumstances are always changing. And if your happiness depends on something that is constantly shifting, you will never truly have peace. Living from the inside out reverses that mechanism. It means you begin with the inner state. You choose peace, gratitude, love, confidence, and let that state guide all your actions, words, and decisions. You do not wait for the world to give you a reason to feel good. You become that reason. When you live from the inside out, circumstances are no longer commands, they are simply data. A difficult day does not determine your worth. A judgment cannot touch your essence. A failure is merely feedback to help you adjust. From this position, you become the creator instead of a passive reactor. This is not just theory. Science shows that a stable and positive emotional state not only impacts mental health, but also improves immune function, increases creativity, and helps you make better decisions. In other words, living from the inside out does not just make you feel better, it makes you perform better. But this requires a daily commitment. Each morning, you need to connect with the state you want to carry through the day. Whenever you are pulled into chaos, you must consciously return to that state instead of letting circumstances drag you away. At first, you will fail many times. But like any skill, the more you practice, the more proficient you become. And then one day, you will realize you no longer have to try to maintain your peace. It has become a reflex. When you live from the inside out, you do not just change your own life. You change the way others experience life when they are with you. Your calm becomes an anchor in the storm. Your positivity spreads and inspires. And without saying a word, you show the world that there is another way to live, a way that does not depend on the luck of circumstances, but on the strength of your inner self. At that point, you are no longer swept along by the current of life. You are the current. We have just walked through a journey, not just a journey of words, but a journey of awakening. From realizing you have been living on autopilot, to learning how to pause, to breaking the loop of the past, and creating your future from the inside out. Every step you take not only changes today, it shapes the person you are becoming. And I want you to remember this: no one else can do it for you. Your life is a book only you have the right to write. Do not let it be written by circumstances, by fear, or by the judgments of others. Write it with your vision, your values, and your heart. There will be days when you are tired, moments when you want to give up. But remember, every small action, every time you choose a deliberate response instead of an impulsive one, every second you live from the inside out, these are all building the foundation for a life you will be proud to look back on. I thank you for spending this time here, for opening your heart to receive, and most importantly, for daring to face yourself. I wish you health, the ability to hold on to your peace through life's changes, and the courage to become the best version of yourself one day, one step at a time.